Hey, good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Again, man, I just want to welcome you guys back to the Conversation 9-8. Hey, glad to be back. Took a little break, was off for 2 weeks, but very happy, very excited of being back. And I'm looking forward to having a conversation tonight. Um, and I'm just happy to be back. Sometimes you got to take some time for yourself. And that's what I did the last 2 weeks. Been going strong since we got started. We're on episode 167. So I'm just truly excited and happy to being uh, back with you guys tonight. I look forward to the conversation. Look forward to hearing from you guys. Um, and just feel free to share this. Feel free to jump in. Feel free to, just be a part of it. And I look forward to the conversation tonight. But most importantly, I'm just happy. And January already over with, getting going into the new year, and we're gonna look to good things in 2020 for 2024. It's so amazing to me that how fast time goes, and time has gone, but we're back in this thing again. But just happy again, and we're gonna get right on into it. Again, man, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you for you all continued support as we continue to do our thing on this platform. But with all that said and done, we're about to go ahead and get started. And before we get started, I just wanted to say, appreciate people in your life. I appreciate my mom. I appreciate my family. I appreciate the privilege of having people in my life. And if we're appreciative, I'll tell you it does a lot for us. But we're just gonna go ahead and get started. And the topic we're talking about tonight is understanding the dangers your comfort zone can have on your ability to change and grow. Because our comfort zone, we all have a comfort zone, and we all have a place of comfort that well, first of all, we desire comfort. There's nothing wrong with desiring comfort. I'm not against comfort, right? But I said we have to understand there's some dangers. There are some dangers uh, that you can have, your comfort zone can have on your ability to change and grow. Because the sad truth is, many of us, we will sit around and we stay stuck in a place of stagnation that is not good or not conducive into our goals or the things that we know, or us maximizing our potential. And we allow that comfort zone or stand in that space to hinder our ability for change and growth. And we got to be careful with that, not to allow our comfort zone to do that, because it is up to us to control that, because we are the one that have full control over our lives. We are the one. There's nobody else. Nobody else. We are the ones that have full control of our lives, and we got to be careful about the having the comfort zone. Hey, Miss Page, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you. I appreciate you for tuning in. But again, like I said before, there's nothing wrong with having a comfort zone. Then I don't want people to really misconstrue what I'm talking about, because we all, I got places and places of comfort that I like. There's certain standards that I like to have, and I'm not speaking on that. What I'm speaking on are those places where we like to go to, that were our default places that don't push us to the place where we know we should be. And we like to stay in those places, and we like to stay in those areas where it's comfortable for us, but it may not be conducive for us for change and growth. And the sad truth is, many of us will sit down and be upset about and complain about not seeing the change that we want, but we want to stay in that comfort zone. And that's like an oxymoron. No, it's going to be something. You're going to have to be uncomfortable for growth. Change and growth will cause us to be uncomfortable, and it will cause us to work ourselves and be deliberate about coming out of our comfort zone. It will be. And we can say that, and we can deny it, but that's just what the reality is. That's what the reality is. And I say this because I've noticed there are a lot of people, especially, I'm using this on a professional point, but even on a personal level. On a professional level, there's a lot of people, like, we just like to do what we do. We get comfortable with understanding the tasks or the things of our job, and we just stay right there at that place. But we still want to get promoted. We still desire elevation. We still desire increased responsibility, increased pay, but we don't want to come out of that comfort zone. we got to come out of that comfort zone, because when you're talking about elevation, there's different requirements. You can't do the same thing that you did in the first grade when you get to the 12th grade. It's levels to this, and we got to level up. And that's what I'm talking about. If we have to understand that in order for us to level up, we got to be careful not to allow our comfort zone to hinder that growth. Because too many times we get frustrated because we want to be elevated, but we want to stay where we at, and that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I mean, that is not going to happen. I'm just being honest with you. And the reality is, one of the biggest things that people have against coming out of their comfort zone is their comfort zone forced them to deal with themselves. So that's why they don't want to address it. That's why they don't want somebody else to pull them out of that comfort zone. Because what happens is, in your comfort zone, in that space, right? In that space or that comfort zone, that becomes our default. And I mean by our default is that's where we get comfortable with not it's a comfort zone for a lot of us because there's really no accountability that's in there. And we get to that space and we stay in that space. And by staying in that space, what happens is we stay frustrated, perpetually frustrated, because we're not growing. But the reason why we're not growing is because we are refusing to come out of that comfort zone. And that comfort zone in turns become our prison, where we will stay in a state of mediocrity because we don't want to come out of it. Ms. Paige Banks, you said, do you think that sometimes we're afraid to fail? 100%. 100% correct. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. I mean, because the reality is this. One of the biggest things too that hinders us as far as with addressing us in our comfort zone is because we are afraid to fail. And that fear of failure imprison us from us even starting to work towards doing those things. And I would tell you, and then we will begin to avoid the very thing that we need to do to grow or to come out or to elevate ourselves in that situation. And the sad thing is, we find ourselves in that space and we will avoid it, and it can be years, and it can be something small, but we are afraid to fail. But the reality is, it's all about perspective. Because if you look at it, if I got a 50-50 chance, that means that it's a 50% chance that I get it and a 50% chance that I'm not. The odds are the same if I choose to do it or if I don't. So why not do it? And it's all about changing your perspective, because the reason why we're fearful in a lot of those spaces is because we want to control the outcome. We want to control the outcome. And that's one thing that we have to say and that we have to do. And we have to look at that and from a perspective that, hey, we got to deal with ourselves. We have to deal with ourselves. And I mean by dealing with ourselves is on that piece is it's okay to fail. You know, it's okay. It's okay. You know, too many times we've set it up and we created this narrative that failure is not an option. But I disagree with that. I would not be where I'm at today if I didn't have those failures in my life. And one of those things about it is most of the failures, we won't choose ourselves. You know, most of those hardships and things that forced me to grow, I didn't choose to do it. I probably would not have chosen to do it. But failure, we have to embrace failure and look at failure from the opportunity, from the perspective that failure is not finite. That means failure is not finite. Failure is not us that's saying that, hey, there's no change from it or nothing can come from it. Look at failure as an opportunity to where we can grow. And if we start embracing it and looking at it as opportunities where we can improve, what we'll find out is we will count it our joy when we face various trials and tribulations, because we understand that something greater is coming from that situation. Something is greater is coming from that, and we ain't sitting around looking at it like it's a woe is me. So that's one of the things where, like Ms. Paige Banks said earlier, you know, yeah, it's because many of us are afraid to fail, right? And one thing about it is, one of the reasons why we're afraid to fail and that causes us to stay in our comfort zone is because our desire to control the outcomes. And we have a desire to control the outcomes because we don't want to deal with the disappointment of potential failure. But the reality is the only thing we can control is our choices. We can't control a lot of the outcomes. We don't know if we're going to come back home when we leave the home in the morning. We don't know if we're going to come back home, but we trust, and we have trust and faith that we would, because guess what? We leave every day and we've been coming back every day. So why spend all of this mental energy, right? And trying to figure out if something is going to happen or this, that, and the third. And then now you stay stuck and you're not even going towards and moving towards what you desire. And and then because of you afraid of it failing, and you would never get off the ground. It would never get off the ground. I mean, you talking about it afraid. You sit there and you allow those things to keep us in those spaces. But the reality is we can control that. Ms. Paige Banks said, why do we get upset about someone else coming down what we were afraid to do? Okay. And they succeed. And when we know we could have done it, but fear stopped us. Yeah, I mean, you know, and I'm glad that you said that. One of the things we have to look at, we got to look at and take accountability for ourselves and our own actions, right? Many times we get upset because we look at other people achieving and doing those very same things that we know that we got the ability to do, but we didn't action it because we're scared and we're afraid of failing. You know, we don't know their journey, but we look like, I know I can do it better than them, but they doing it. Well, it's time to say, you know what? Let me get up and put that fear down and let me go after it, because we're allowing that fear to become our comfort zone. And what we don't realize is we begin to identify by that comfort zone, and we're just like the man at the pool of Bethesda. We're looking for somebody else to do something for us that we have the ability to do ourselves. You know, and we just got to get up and do it. Get up and do it. Go and pursue that. If you see somebody else doing something, don't get mad. Don't get upset. Look at it and use that as motivation to say, hey, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go do it because I know I got it in me to do it. Flo, what's up, Flo? How you doing? Flo said, no failure is negative. You either learn what to do or what not to do. And it's all about perspective. And I will tell you, it's all about perspective and how we look at it. And one of the ways to come out of your comfort zone is we got to change our mindset and we got to change our perspective. Because most of the time when we look at it, our comfort zone is conditioned based off of our thoughts. And it's conditioned based off of our thoughts because our thoughts become our comfort zone because we lie to ourselves more than anybody else. So if something seems hard or we don't feel comfortable with knowing the outcome, we'll just convince ourselves that, we can do better, or no, ain't no need to doing that. And we psych ourselves out and we stay in that same space. And we wondering why 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the road, now we wonder why things are still the same. It's because we were too afraid to change our mindset. And a lot of times it's just like what he said, if failure is not negative, you either learn what to do or what not to do. Learn, take the bull by the horn, learn from it, and move on. And move on. Don't sit there and stay stuck because it's a comfort zone. And then, one thing about it, and I think a lot of people don't understand this, but your comfort zone can be the very stronghold that is hindering you from you achieving the very thing you know deep down inside. And that comfort zone, it can be packaged up, and you can package up however you want to do it, right? A lot of us, we hide behind the comfort zone of being a parent. So now we are not doing all of these things we need to do to chase our dreams, but we just saying, oh, I'm just, I do it with my kids and I do all this. And no, we use that as an excuse because we don't want to be committed to do the extra work that need to be done to accomplish what we know we can accomplish. And we look for other things, and we look things about being a comfort. We look for things about being a comfort to use as an excuse. But the reality is we're just controlled by fear, and we can overcome that by how we change and challenge and change our mindsets. We can do that, no doubt. Yeah, Miss Lady said, but Robert, you come from a family that made sure you were not afraid to make a change. Make a change. Take a chance to get back up and try again. But some come from family that teaches if you fail, you're done a terrible job. And you know what, Miss Paige Banks, you are 100% correct. And this is why, this is why I talk about it. And I'm glad that you brought that up. Glad you brought that up. It doesn't matter about what background you come from. It is helpful to come from a supportive background and a background that teaches you. And I said something earlier, and I made a post earlier. I said, Pam, stop getting mad at our kids for things we didn't teach them, right? And we just expect them to learn on their own, right? And in that space, we have to look at it, right? Some of us come from places where we were taught, others aren't. But the reality is, am I going to sit down and play a woe is me and looking for somebody to feel sorry for me? Or I'm going to just look at it from the perspective, be like, you know what? This is where I am right now today. I can choose to grow from where I'm at right now, or I can choose to have a pity party of woe is me and what wasn't taught to me. And that is what I'm talking about, being in prison in a comfort zone that hindered us from doing it. Because the reality is the information is out there. We just got to be willing to do the work. We just have to be willing. Because, some people weren't taught how to be good spouses. Some people weren't taught how to be good parents. They didn't have those good examples, but they made a commitment to themselves that they will do the work to overcome and grow. And they surrounded themselves by people, right? And that's why it's so key. And this is the other thing. And I think that is so important that we do and we look at, because it's underestimated, but having people around you of like mind to hold you accountable can definitely get you, accountability partners can definitely push you to come out of your comfort zone. Because the reality is, when we're talking about coming out of our comfort zone, it's not going to align with what we want to do. If we want to say we want to lose some weight and I want to work out and all this, when you get up in the morning, you ain't going to want to work out. You ain't going to want to sit there and do meal preps. You ain't going to want to deny yourself that soda that you're so used to, because you was conditioned to it. But you have to instill discipline and use that discipline and lean on that discipline to bring forth the results that you want. And what happens is this: as you have that accountability partner, as you exercise that discipline, what you will start to see is it will become habitual. And now that very thing that you wanted will become your new comfort zone, because you allowed yourself to grow in that space. You allowed yourself to grow in that space. And that's something about it from that perspective. That is what I'm talking about. I'm not saying it from the perspective, from a point that I'm not talking down on anybody. I'm not trying to put anybody down. That's not what I'm doing. But what I am speaking to is, we allow that. I said, understand the dangers of your comfort zone can have on your ability to change and grow. Because a lot of us find ourselves in the same space because we refuse to grow. We just don't want to grow, right? And if that's you, then boom, you stay in your comfort zone, but don't come around me complaining about the plight of your decisions. If you're going to be the only one that's going to have to elevate yourself out of your own comfort zone. And there's other people that you can walk with and be accountable to, but you are the one that's going to have to do the work. It's all going to boil down to your willingness and your desire, right? You have to look at that. If you're comfortable in that space, then stay in that space, but don't sit around and blame the plight on anybody else, because you have to deal with the consequences of your choices of staying where you at. That's on you. That is not on anybody else. So in order to come out of that comfort zone, I got to overcome my fear of failing. And by me overcoming my fear of failing, what that does is that give me the freedom to blossom and grow to the fullness of my potential. To the fullness of my potential. And that's what it is. And it's not and that can be anything. And I'm telling y'all, that right there can be anything. That can be anything. That can be our mindset. That can be our thoughts. That can be the things that, and really our mindset is a big thing. Our mindset is a big thing. And this is the thing, right? This is the thing. We all have areas in our lives that we're going to struggle with as far as with desiring to have them as comfort zones. And I mean, by comfort zones, I mean those areas in our lives that we just unwilling to put that work in to challenge ourselves to grow. I have plenty of areas in that way. And one of the ways I try to hold myself accountable is being around other people, being around other people, and finding people that are strong in those areas, and really submit myself under them or watch them and take from them and grow from them, which in turn will help me with my confidence and willingness to start addressing those comfort zones in my life that I need to grow in. And by doing that, I read and I look and I find and I observe. And then as I gain confidence, now they give me the courage to go head on and start working towards coming out of it. Flo said, glad you said habitual. We have to create space for our consistencies. When you're consistent, everything around you will shift. It has to. Consistency breeds success. Yes. And one of the things you said when you said create a space for our consistency, when you're talking about that, Flo, and one thing I like about that is you can't, and this is good. This is good. It's so important to create a space for to be consistent, for consistency to grow, but we can't be consistent if we're not willing to be accountable. See, accountability is consistency is a byproduct of accountability. It is. And then accountability is just our willingness to surrender, to submit, right, to the authority of somebody who already knows. That doesn't mean they tell you what to do, right? But they already know. They have the knowledge that you seek, and they have the understanding that you're seeking. So you're surrendering yourself under to that tutelage, right? Which in turn is accountability. And what you will find, consistency come out of that. And then you have to activate the discipline to bring that success or bring that change forward. And it may seem complex, but it really boils down to your willingness to put in the work and surrender yourself to it. Ms. Paige Banks said, I wanted to be a good mom, and I really had to change and put in hard work. I messed up, but I made sure I got it right. Thankful. Yeah, but you know what, Ms. Paige Banks? We all messed up. I'd have messed up as a father. I'd have messed up as a husband, and messed up as a son, then messed up as a soldier, then messed up. I've messed up. I have. And in those situations, I've learned from all of them. And shout out to Colonel Retired Reed Hudgens, my 1st Battalion commander when I was an officer. He did something to me in my first interaction with him, my first time meeting him. I'm never going to forget this. I went in the office to meet him and talk with him. And I was there, and it was funny. I was there, and I was ready to talk. Hey, sir, this is who I am. This is all the good stuff I did. And my first interaction, the first thing he ever said to me besides hello, he said, what are your top 3 weaknesses, and what's your plan to do something about it? That blew me away. That blew me away. That blew me away because I wasn't, I was ready to talk about all of the good things, but he forced me to look internal to address and identify the bad things. And it's so easy for us to identify our strength and our weaknesses. But when we identify our weaknesses and we are willing to work towards them, then what we'll do is we'll turn our weaknesses into our strength. We will do that. And I would say this, I'm a huge Alabama fan, so huge Nick Saban fan. And this is what a lot of people don't know. In 2014, Ohio State beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. The offensive coordinator of the Ohio State at the time was Tom Herman. Tom Herman, after the Sugar Bowl, got hired to be the head football coach at Houston. And I remember seeing an article that Nick Saban and Kirby Smart at the time, who was the Alabama defensive coordinator, they paid Tom Herman to come down, who just beat them in the playoffs, on his way while he was going to Houston, so that he can tell them how they attack the weaknesses of the Alabama defense. He was not afraid to go to somebody who just beat them and say, how did you beat me? So I can go back and I can change how I prepared. And that's the same way. He was not willing to stay in the comfort zone. He had conditioned himself to say, hey, if you're going to beat me, hey, how did you beat me? And there's countless stories like that of Kobe Bryant or I just saw a story of Kenny Smith talking about Michael Jordan when he was at North Carolina, that when his freshman year, he would like to guard him because he would like to guard Michael Jordan because he had a good jump shot and the dynamic, but he couldn't dribble the ball well. And he said eventually when he come back, when he went pro, his handles was better because he worked on it. He turned this weakness into a strength. Hey, Valencia, how you doing? She said, and please understand, an accountability partner is different from a yes man. Yes. Yes, it is. An accountability partner is definitely different from a yes man. Accountability partner is somebody who will hold you accountable, not just to the point to where you're just saying yes and y'all always in agreement, because you're not going to always be in agreement with the person accountability partner. Not going to happen. Matter of fact, you're going to have a lot of disagreements with them, right? But you hold each other accountable, and at the end of the day, you benefit from that accountability. And I just want to say we have to understand the dangers of the comfort zone. I'm not talking about you being in a space, right? Being in a good space of where you have a standard of living. Like, that's not the comfort zone that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the comfort zones in our lives and those areas in our lives where we know we need to improve on. A lot of us, we just want to stay in the comfort zone. Listen, stop using the comfort zone of your job as a way to justify neglecting the people in your life. That's a comfort zone. That's what we create, and we use that, but we don't want to say, you know what, I got to deal with me, so I'm just going to avoid that. No, that's the stuff I'm talking about. I'm talking about those comfort zones in our lives, those areas in our lives that are hindering the production of us growing and changing into a better person or to better places. And we just have to put in the work. So I just wanted to just share that with you guys, man. I really, really thank you guys so much for rocking with me. We're on episode 167, been going strong. Thank God for this. Make sure you guys share this, and you see all the social media platforms up here. Go and subscribe at the Conversation 98 on YouTube. Also the Conversation 98 on Instagram, and you see at 98 Conversation, the Conversation 98 on here, as well as at the Conversation _98 on TikTok. Man, I appreciate you. If you feel this was helpful, man, let me know. Let me know. I just try to be as open and honest and talk about stuff from a perspective, from a Christian's perspective, but from a logical perspective, because I feel a lot of times we don't have these conversations and people deal with this stuff all of the time. So that I'm grateful. I'm looking forward to 2024. Already in February, the year don't stop. Things are going strong, and I'm just looking to deal with my comfort zones and address my comfort zones so that I don't stay comfortable and stay stagnant. You guys have a great and wonderful day. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a blessed week. God bless.